Welcome to Wisdom Soup, you guys. So good to have you guys joining in. Yay! This is our month of May monthly Wisdom Soup meetup. So I'm super excited you guys decided to join us. We were thinking about, I was chatting with Wendy and Kira, and we're talking about this idea about having some of the artists from our community join us to talk about art as a way of connecting to spirit. So, and we were all super excited about the idea. So we were thrilled when Marjorie and Rachel and Joanne all put their hands in the air because, you know, not every artist is like ready to be out in the front of the camera. Lots of artists are like, I just want to work quietly in my attic. Don't talk to me. So I was thrilled that these three wonderful ladies decided to take us up on this idea to have this conversation because I think there's a lot of value, even if you have never felt a creative bone in your body from the perspective of making things. There are lessons for us all to learn from their creative process. So welcome. So for those of you who are new to Wisdom Soup is something I've been doing Wisdom Soup for like forever now. Like it seems like a decade since I started. And I originally started Wisdom Soup as a in-person meetup with the idea that I wanted to create community, that I wanted to create the sense of really, I was at a place of my life where my journey was beginning, and I wanted to find other people who were on the journey too. And it became a way of exposing myself and then sharing that exposure with other people to new ideas, to grow my own concept of what's possible in spirit. And so we've been upholding that tradition for this whole time, bringing in all kinds of different, really everything woo you can think of. Definitely sometimes pushing my own boundaries as to what I was willing to accept. So we've talked about dragons, we've talked about dreams, we talk about crystals, we talk about really every quantum, you name it. We've gone there. And so today's topic is that idea of how it really comes from the idea of like how much are we in spirit without even knowing it? Like how much are we engrossed in our own connection, and we don't necessarily call it that. We don't call it channeling because it's just something we do. And I think doing art is an opportunity to explore that idea. So I thought it might be really, really interesting to have a community or to have a collection of artists share their perspective to see what kind of insights we could get along those lines. How they might share with us what art does for them in terms of enhancing their connection to spirit. So today we have three artists with us. We have Rachel Wolf Powers, we have Marjorie Crooks, and we have Joanne Healey, all of whom are members and have been longtime members of our community. So thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So my thought for how we would start is I thought I have a couple of questions that I thought we would just talk about as a panel that you guys could answer just collectively. And then I would love it if you guys would each maybe take a little time and show us your work, show us what it is that you do, how spirit moves you. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Sounds great.
Okay, perfect,
Yeah,
perfect.
definitely.
And so the first question I was thinking of is how would you say, and first of all, like I will be curious to know, how do each of you, if you could each tell us what your medium is, what kind of art do you do?
I work with oil, mainly oil and canvas, but I also do drawing using ink. I do life drawing of nude models when I feel like I'm getting way behind and I need some brush up and sort of, but yeah, all different.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So painting and drawing, and how about for you, Rachel?
I would put myself in the category of multimedia or even mixed
Uh-huh.
media because I jump around between the different mediums depending on where I feel the urge. So photography, so sometimes it's a camera, other times it's a paintbrush. It can be acrylic or oil on canvas, ceramics, clay, and sometimes even just things I find that I'm putting
Oh,
together in interesting ways.
oh, very cool. Okay,
That's good.
awesome. How about you, Joanne?
Yeah, I'd like that term, multimedia, mixed media, because that's kind of what I do. I jump around a bit. They used to box artists into different categories of what they had to do, and now artists don't want to do that anymore, and they're breaking out into all kinds of different media.
Whatever speaks to you.
Right.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Although you only get the nude models if you paint and draw. So just so you know.
It's funny.
So,
Yeah.
so a question I have for you guys is has the work that you do as an artist, how has it changed how you see the world? What do you feel, what advantages do you have in terms of your perception of the world has art brought you?
Mm. Huge amount. Do you want to
Such
go
as?
first?
Yeah,
Such
please
as,
do.
well, I think I always have, I work, I lose time when I'm working. I don't know what day it is. It could be anywhere. It doesn't matter. You know, it's you just connecting very closely with the subject, or it doesn't even have to be the subject. It's being connected to the medium that you're using, and then just allowing it to flow. Sometimes it's inspired from or motivated from something that you've heard or seen or sketched out, but you really just want to, something inside of you that you want to pull out and make marks. So and then it
Beautiful.
makes you feel, sometimes you question, oh my God, where did that come from? You know, did I make that? Did I do that? You know, and then everybody's response to it, different individual, every individual looking at it looks at it in a different way, you know, and
Oh,
it's out there, you've got to let it go, you know, and be free, and then for others to see it. So it's enormous challenge at times, but great pleasure.
wow, wow. That really makes me think about like the creative process in general, this idea that you're giving birth to something almost like something that's independent of you, that you put yourself out there, you create something, and then you have to release it and let it do what it's going to do in the world.
Yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely.
How about for you, Rachel or Joanne, for that same thought, is how has it changed how you see the world?
Well, I relate totally with Marjorie that what she says. I think that's a lot of the process for artists. The other thing that came to mind is that how it affected me in my life is that when life's difficulties would come up and I would use my art to process it, um, it was always it helps to move the energy of the of whatever's gone on in my life, and it does it through the colors and the textures and the it's like moving something inside of me as well as something else outside of me.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
That idea of art as therapy. You hear about that, people
Yeah.
using art therapy. So what does that feel like when you're using it to move through? So you come into it, do you come into it when you're like your emotions are high and you just kind of like how do you do that?
It's I kind of do the same with as Marjorie mentioned. It's just kind of like this flow comes out of me. I never start anything a piece like with a thought that I'm going to do something. I just kind of allow whatever comes out. And again, just like her, I'm surprised. Like I look and I go, "Oh my God, this is cool," or "This is interesting," and stuff. So I relate so much to what she said as well.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
beautiful.
flow, like a
A flow
connection
state.
to I view it as a connection to the divine because that's what it feels like to me. I used to do energy work with people and now I do it into my art and it's that same flow that comes through. Yeah.
So yeah, so Odd is asking in our comments, is asking if you would say that expressing or creating is moving to a higher frequency. So that would be like that flow, like getting you into a more
Mhm.
connected state.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Awesome. How about for you, Rachel? How would you say that it's changed how you see the world, your art?
I think it has forced me to always look at life, the world with open eyes,
Yeah,
almost like a child, right?
yeah.
It's new. I'm always asking, what if? And it forces you to be aware of, any upbringing or biases or programming or just anything we've been taught throughout life, and to really be able to see the world with new eyes.
That is like so huge because that's something we've been hearing from the angels a ton, that when we get to our higher state of consciousness, we are meant to get into that childlike state of seeing things with new eyes. So art would be it sounds like it would be a great way for people to start. So for you, why does it do that for you? What about art helps you to see the world with a beginner's mind?
Play.
Play?
It's
Oh, I
play,
love it.
it's
Yes. Okay.
experimentation, it's joy.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, like Joanne and Marjorie, you get lost in it, but there's this sense, it's also very healing in its own way. But
Mm-hmm.
it really forces you to be really open and to really just go with the flow, be fluid.
Yes. Yeah. That is super, super cool. So speaking of that, so when you are practicing in your art, when you're working on something, how free do you feel? So you say it helps you to get into flow. Is that something that just happens or do you fight with it? Is it a struggle to become free as an artist?
I think the mindset, like I know that sometimes I get stuck, right? There's just life, right? And
Mm-hmm.
a bad day at work or something, and you just kind of get stuck, but you just gotta push, just kind of, and you gotta let it go. It's
Mm.
recognizing it, acknowledging it, and setting it free. And then allowing yourself to just move through it. And the art is a way to help you to do that.
Interesting.
Can
So
I,
the art actually connects you to the freedom.
can
I
I
think for me it does, but I'd be curious, Joanne.
Yeah.
Yeah, just when you said about being stuck, I have gotten stuck on pieces and I will work on 2 or 3 pieces at a time because sometimes it's like I can't process whatever that is. So I move over to a different one and then come back and I can process at a different time. Yeah, but it's about life too, being stuck. I agree.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So
For
do you feel
example,
like,
this one behind me,
yeah.
5 years ago, I put it away. It was in the garage. And same thing like Joanne. I just wasn't in the right place. It just needed to stop, put it away. I brought it out and it just came to me. Just one.
Oh, wow. So do you feel like there's a connection if that particular piece was stuck? Was that connected to something in you
Mhm.
that was needing to move or needing to shift before you could complete it? Wow. That's
Yeah,
really, and
100%.
yeah, wow. And do you feel it? Like now, do you feel as you approach it? So what came first, like chicken or egg? Was it, you know what I mean? Did the art heal the wound or did you heal and then was able to express the art more fluidly? What's that relationship?
That's a good question. Marjorie, Joanne? I'm
Well,
punting it.
I'm coming from a different angle. I worked in commercial design, so fashion industry, graphics,
Oh,
textiles,
wow.
and I've done film as well and animation and things like that. So, and a little bit of photography, but I would never call myself a photographer. So I've done a lot of commercial work, and it's constraint. Here's your deadline. This is your aspect ratio. We've got to have this in it, got to have that in it. You've got to sell 2,000 of those tops that you're doing. It's like really, really, you're under pressure. Whereas when you're painting very freely and you're with a canvas or paper or mixed media, you can just allow it to speak to you. And
Oh.
sometimes I think, who's in control here? Is it the artwork or is it me? And there's a dance that goes on between you and the artwork,
Oh.
to try and get to, it's always a kind of resolution rather than it's perfect. It's never. It's sort of It's like I always go back to work. Sometimes I get into trouble from my family because I paint over and I paint over, and they say, "But it's fine as it was." So I've learned to just bring out another canvas, let it go, leave it, and move on. But I've done the same as Rachel, where it's been quite a few years, between pieces, and then I've gone back and changed it. I did one about Africa and it was all about blood and really dark and but then I actually recently changed it to lots of gold and changed it completely different, because I feel that Africa as a country has really moved on. So I gave it to a friend of mine, and she has both the old photograph on her wall and the new painting, so she can see the transformation.
Oh, that is cool.
It's
That the
just,
work is like a embracing of the change.
yes, an evident of it. Yeah, definitely.
I think
Sorry,
that's
I'll probably
an
yawn
interesting thing that of like channeling Africa's energy, because I think that sometimes like it's kind of like as your spirit is looking for, pays attention to something. So your spirit was paying attention to Africa somehow, and then the energies kind of came through, and then you found it different and corrected it. And I think that that happens like, and you can do that locally or even just with another person. Like I've been commissioned to do a piece for somebody that was very ill. And, I was just getting a lot of energy around this person and what they're supposed to do and how I can help them and all that. So it's kind of like your spirit, I think, is out there kind of looking for different ways of connecting. And I think
Yeah.
that comes through the art.
So do you all would agree that when you work on your art, you feel like you've connected into something outside of yourself?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Something, whether it be your
Yeah.
higher self or you're channeling that
Yeah.
energy. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah.
So, okay,
Being-
so one question I would have for you about that is when you are, so say for example, you've gone through a stretch where you haven't been working, like maybe you've been, for whatever reason, you set down your paints, you set down your work for a while and come back to it. Do you feel like that connection comes more easily when you're like the more you do it, the better it gets? Or is it just always the same? Like is it a thing where you just pick up a pen and boom, it's there? Or do you find that it's like a like the wheels have to get greased and then it gets more? How does it show up for you guys?
Yeah. I think if you're doing a lot, it flows easier than
Okay.
if there's a big period of not doing any work. I think it's not hard to get back to, but it can shift quite substantial. And so I always find that's why I do the life drawing, because if I'm doing portraiture, if I'm doing any figurative work, it helps me get back into exercise and looking and observing three-dimensionality. The figure and life form, I think, is always quite very challenging to do. So rather than abstract, but that's just me.
Yes. Yeah. How about for you, Rachel and Joanne?
I think it's a bit of both maybe. Because sometimes it just comes in and you're ready to go. And then other
Yeah.
times it's like a muscle. You just got to work it a little bit, keep it in shape, keep it attuned, keep the skills fresh. Which I think Marjorie kind of mentioned a little bit earlier on. But then other times, like I just get a picture in my head. Like I'm a very visual person. I just get that picture and boom, I'm off.
And then it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so if your art is helping you guys connect and opening you up to your sources of inspiration, have you noticed, does it open you when you're in the flow, when you guys are working a lot, do you notice that it opens you up to spirit in other aspects of your life? Do you see that carry over in any way? And how? How does it carry over? Any specifics?
In my dreams. Sorry,
Interesting.
sorry, Joanna, you were going to speak there.
Okay, I have a lot more synchronicity that are related to the piece. Like things in life will happen that are kind of in line with it. So that's how I think it makes a difference. Yeah.
Super cool. That's a great measure. I noticed that when I'm really in the flow, it's like all of life kind of stacks up to kind of push along with me. So I think synchronicity is a great way to say, yeah, okay, I'm in the flow. That is awesome. That's awesome. How about for you? What were you going to add, Marjorie?
Oh, in my dreams, I sometimes get colors coming through and shapes coming through, symbols coming through. And even last night, I had a dream of two women in my sister's bedroom, and they had easels there, and my sister pointed me to the two easels. And it's quite interesting because I've got two girls, you know, I've got Rachel and I've got Jana here, so it's quite interesting.
Oh
You know,
my
it's
God.
like,
So
you
I
know,
gotta tell you, I love, love, love that dream for our conversation because two in dream language means channeling. And the easel, so it's basically saying that when you use your easels, you are channeling. So it is a confirmation of this whole conversation of like what we're talking about here, about the idea that whenever we connect to spirit, right, however we let it flow through us, whether you're a singer or musician or an artist or a dancer, or whether it be your gift is relating to other people, and whatever it is that what is our genius, that's how we become a channel for spiritual energy. Yeah, so cool. That's awesome that you dreamt that last night. I love it.
make me cry.
That's not a good conversation unless someone cries. So I'm really glad you did that. Thank you. And we know we're getting to the good stuff when people start crying.
Weeping with
And I
joy.
think dreams are another, besides synchronicities, I have more dreams when I'm more connected. So if I'm doing my art, I'm flowing, I have more synchronicities and more dreams. So I'd love that you had that dream, Marjorie.
Yeah, yeah, especially last night, to just dream that just right before this is just super cool. How about for you, Rachel? Would you add anything to that?
I would say the big thing for me is just keep staying grounded.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, sometimes when I'm not so grounded at moments in life, it'll still come through, but there's something about in order to keep that momentum going, you gotta just stay connected to the earth, stay
Mm.
connected and ground. I think at least for me, it helps a lot. And it helps to keep that almost that percolation going, like the painting behind me was like almost like a percolation. It was like a fine wine. I had to sit for 5 years. But
Aging.
and sometimes ideas got to percolate and then bam.
Wow. What I love about that is it does make me think about my own experience of learning to trans channel, is that in the beginning, when I first made the connection with the angels, when I went up and I saw them there, and I was super excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is something new, and I'm in their realm, and here they are, and they're real, and oh my gosh. But then there was nothing happened, like no communication. They just sat there and looked at me for like 6 months until I finally figured out that I needed to keep a piece of me in my body in order for the messages. So it's like you're saying, in order for the messages to flow, I had to go part of me up there and part of me down here.
Yep.
And it's like what you're saying, that it helps you to do your art when you're grounded. And so do you feel like it's something about bringing the energy or bringing the connection into the physical? Like how would you describe that?
I ground and I also run my energy.
Mm.
So before I start a piece, I have to, it only takes a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But then I also do things like I set the stage, right? I like really loud music when I paint. This helps to,
Wow.
keep me in that joyful, and it's like a movement. I'm almost like dancing with the paintbrush and the canvas,
Wow.
and it's
So the
very,
whole body gets in
the
on the
whole
action.
body is in there. Yeah,
Oh,
it's not a stationary activity. It's
Wow.
but the grounding and running your energy, and making sure that, you have your energy channels are open and, helping to kind of clear out the chakras and you just go with it.
Yeah. How about for you, Marjorie and Joanne? Is it similar for you? Do you find when you are working, do you get tight, or are you like Lucy dancing? What do you do?
I'm completely different. I paint in silence, absolute silence. When I was at art college, everybody did everything in silence, and it was very hard for me. I went to a life drawing class, and people were playing music, and I found that really kind of brought me into consciousness. So
Oh, interesting.
I need silence. Well,
Hmm.
not birds. So I'm luckily in near the countryside. I'm in the countryside, but bird song or natural sounds are fine. But I usually am completely. I'm quite introspective. I think that's where I am more introspective. I think when I do my work, quite
Interesting.
interesting. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Odd is mentioning the comments that it makes him think about that calligraphy and meditation before the birth first gesture. So it's like that part of the practice of doing it is the idea that you have to get. So interesting that it's going to flow differently for different people. So for Rachel, that having that being more fluid and in the state of like connecting with everything helps you, whereas for you, Marjorie, you want to get into your own channel and exclude all the distractions. So which works out better. How about for you, Joanne? Which is it? Are you more flowing with everything or in your own zone?
I'm actually kind of a combination. I do the dancing and music, and I also sometimes it's like that's too much noise for me. I need to be quiet. So I do both actually, and I
Yeah.
enjoy hearing that. And then the other thing is, I was thinking about how we're always in this thinking mind, trying to do life. You know, you're out
Mhm.
there processing and doing everything, and doing the art switches. For me, it takes me my mind to a different place where there's more magic and there's more flow to life rather than this rigid beta thinking logical way to process life. And I
Yeah.
think your earlier question, I think that's one of the biggest things that it does for me.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I want to leave time for each of you to show us the magic that you create, but I want to ask you first. So knowing what we do, that like my good friend Michael Sheridan always says, the obstacles are not in the way, they are the way. It's like on all of his coffee mugs. And I think it's such a great statement that the idea that the things that are hard in our life can point us to our growth. So what would you say, since art you are living the way of the artist? What is hardest for you about being an artist, and how does that relate to your growth trajectory? I
I
should
do
have given you
sometimes.
that question in advance to let you think about
I do at times
it.
feel a
You
little bit
jumped the
guilty.
towel.
So
Yeah,
you had a thought, Marjorie?
I feel at times being a little bit indulgent and guilty, that from doing art.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I sometimes think, am I being too selfish? But I did do my own thing, but I did do a lot of teaching. So I was in further education college here in Scotland, and I used to work with young people, not the privileged people, but people kids that were really struggling from different backgrounds. And it was bringing out what was driving them and their creativity. So I kind of balanced it that way. I felt I'm actually helping. And then, I used to sometimes feel I couldn't read. I couldn't read books because I felt, I should be doing my art. It was like, trying to get the balance, and juggling the balls for me was really quite challenging at times. But now that I'm retired, it's great because I can just do as I wish when I want. So it's just a pleasure, an absolute pleasure now. But I actually have never tried grounding. Never tried what you did, Rachel, what you said about grounding, and I've never really actually used the grounding methods that you teach us, to go into the earth and actually do my artwork, which is, I must try it. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah, that is so interesting, Marjorie, that you identified that art is a pleasure and you feel guilty about having that pleasure. And I think it's something that we can all relate to, that that's such a common issue. Like just the other day, literally 2 nights ago, I bought some furniture. And I was feeling guilty about buying the furniture to the point where I was like gonna call my mom and be like, should I buy the furniture? Can I have mom permission to buy this furniture? I don't know if you guys do that. I do that. My mom's very sweet that way. She'll be like, you should have that furniture. So like she knows the thing. She's supposed to play the game. She's like, yes, you should do that. Anyways, but I immediately got a clairaudient message. Like sometimes I'll come in as song lyrics, and I can't even remember the name of the song, but it was "You're Taking Care of Yourself." That was it. She takes care of herself. That song, na 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 na. That song right came
Mhm.
into my head right then, and it was like a little message from my guide saying, "Don't feel guilty. Like enjoy the pleasures of life. Enjoy what brings you pleasure." Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. How about for you guys, Rachel and Joanne?
Well, I relate to your song thing. That always happens to me. That's another thing that happens is I get those song lines that tell me something. For me, it's the marketing aspect of it. Is just really difficult. It takes me out of my zone, and it's like that part is hard. And there was another part that uh, yeah, but I would say that's mainly the thing. And I do the teaching too. And I have felt that what you said, Marjorie, I have felt that at times that where it feels like, wow, I have this. And if I spend my time in that, I'm being selfish somehow. So I do relate to that
Mm.
as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably a common one but I mean, I imagine that's interesting as a thing to wrestle with as you are going through the experience. Can the art be just for you? You know?
Right. Right.
Mhm.
And the other, I did think of the other thing. It has to do with lugging all the canvases and things all around. That's a hard part for me as well.
Oh, yeah. How about for you, Rachel?
Um, I actually kind of take a different approach because I don't actually make any, income off of my artwork, at least as of now. However, I do take that creativity and the same art making process and apply it in everything else.
Mm,
So I'm a designer, and so whether it be I'm designing an object or writing, being in corporate America, I wrote a lot of case studies. It still is that artistic creative process, right? You're still doing a draft and you're still building upon it and creating a story. You're communicating. But then also it's like even down to like how I manage people or in as a manager or how I approach problems, right? I still take that same art making process and just apply it in different contexts. So I see it as these are all my different mediums.
wow. So, okay. So this gets to the question I was
Mm.
asking earlier about how does like in terms of being opened up to source energy through art, how does that then apply in other lives? So, like, what does that look like? It's because the idea that you're going to take that, what is the process that translates from art to managing people?
Mhm.
I think it's the same kind of key, like taking the keywords, right? It's like being open, being
Okay.
fluid, looking at it from different perspectives. Again, it's
Ah,
like the different perspectives, i.e., the child's eye, right? Bringing in play. I mean, the best place to work is a place where you can like bring your best and do your best, but have fun doing it. And I want to like
yeah.
foster that in the teams I work with. And that's finding joy, right? If you're going to do something and
Yes.
you're going to get up every morning, you got to love it, right?
Yes.
My mother always said, do what you love, the money will follow, and I really took that to heart. And it's funny, I used to have this poster on my wall in high school. It was like Pablo Picasso. I don't know if the quote's really his or not, but it was a quote of like, what is art? Art is a man's name. Okay. But it is, but that stuck with me because art isn't everything for me, right? And it's like always saying yes and. Like there'll be sometimes I'm painting and I'm like, I'm not embracing the ambiguity. There's something feeling, I'm not sure where it's going to go yet, but embrace the ambiguity. And it's the same thing I would tell to managing a team of people, right? You don't know where the product, how the product's going to do when it's launched in the market. Uh,
Yeah.
right? But you need to embrace it and you need to be fluid. You need to be able to go with that flow.
That is so inspiring. I love that. Yeah, everybody says so well said. Everybody's loving it. That is awesome. And by the way, I apologize for putting that mind worm of that song into your guys' head. Several people are like, that's going to be stuck in my head all day. Sorry about
How
that.
how
So,
I found it is I tend to work a little bit ahead. So, and I do get premonitions. So I
oh,
actually,
interesting.
yeah, and in the fashion industry, you've got to be, I was doing I was spinning, first of all, and dye work spinning textiles at one point. And so you had to be a year and a half ahead. And then there's
Oh,
colorists
wow.
that are 2 years ahead, year and a
Oh
half
my
for the
gosh.
components of yarns, and then a year ahead for the designs. So I've done all of that in the fashion industry. And then it goes out to market, so, 6 months. So when I was doing that, it was quite good because I'm able to somehow soak up things that are happening on the street level, or I don't know where, just to, help move things. And
Wow.
then when I was in further education, I it was ideas at meetings. So you get these big groups of people and you go round for ideas, and I would do things that were kind of like flipping things on their heads and, out of the box thinking and that kind of thing. And I was managing people, I'll not go into the detail, but a lot of people and a lot of students. But I used to start working ahead, and it was difficult sometimes for others to like follow me. I was leading, and I used to know who was with me, and then who was blocking that, just reading their energy. It was
Wow.
just that's how it worked for me, kind of very organic, and then people, by the time they caught up, I was onto something else. That kind of thing. So they needed kind of to put reins on me at times, and I had to put reins on myself because I had to
Mm.
make consideration for others who didn't really kind of jump on board where I was jumping on board. The engines were started and we were sailing off,
Yeah.
into sort of, new project ideas. So
Yeah.
that's how.
Interesting. So tapping into a creative flow that is
Mhm.
also a premonition about which makes sense. There are people out there who are like that happens throughout the fashion industry or whatever, is that everybody sort of taps into the same colors or the same, like this is what's going to be trendy. And I haven't really thought about it, but you're right, the lead times are huge. So everybody's kind of must be in this one flow of tuning in to what is going to be the hot new thing. Fascinating. Well, I
Yeah.
want to leave time for you guys to show us what it is that moves through you. So who would like to go first and share with us some of your work?
I guess I can go.
Thank you, Joanne. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. And I think Kira has my two images.
Awesome. So she'll show
Wanna
for us.
move? Yeah. Um, I am very tech unskilled, so I don't have a presentation, but I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. So I got sick 30 years ago, and I got Lyme disease when they didn't know about it. And
Oh,
what started happening is I started having dreams at night that gave me guidance about what to do. And that's how I healed myself through my dreams. But the other thing was that I have a background in science. So I was biology, chemistry, and then I have a master's in counseling. All I could do when I was sick was do my art.
oh, wow.
So all of this stuff kept coming out of me in my art. Like this one here is Goddess
Oh,
Emerging, and you can see the shadow side. Again, I didn't intend to do this. It just came out, and I'm like, oh, this must be a shadow side and the goddess. And so I named it.
wow.
Gorgeous.
And all the colors and textures and a lot of guidance through my dreams and then through the art that came through. Um, and each of the pieces carries those frequencies. So I have another one that's called Into the Mystique. That's the other image. And this
Oh
one,
my
before I
gosh.
even knew what a third eye was, this came out of me and all of this spiritual energy above. And then underneath are these Wonder Woman images too. So what was happening is that I was, opening up my third eye. I was having dreams and synchronicities and all kinds of things happening. And the thing is, they didn't know how to treat Lyme back then. And it was my dreams that healed me because they didn't
Wow.
know. My dreams would tell me at 3 o'clock in the morning what to do, what to take, who to see, all kinds of stuff. But each of the pieces that I created has these empowering frequencies that are unique to the piece, and it comes through in color. I had a dream one time that said, in our spirit body, we are all color and sound. So I really feel that looking at art, no matter what it is, that if it relates to you, that it's doing something frequency wise to your spirit or your soul.
Yes.
And then, different themes come through. I have one that is Audrey remembering to play because I was going through such difficult times in life. It was like I was just barely holding on. And had this one come out, Audrey remembering to play. And I love that image of being playful. And then the other one, this was a commission piece. I don't know whether you can see this behind me. This is a
Yes.
commission piece that a couple, the wife contacted me, and the husband had ALS, and he was given a few weeks to live, and his birthday was coming up, and she asked if I would do a piece. Never saw them, just started working, and this has so many layers underneath, but he ended up
Wow.
living like a year and a half. And I would channel all this information, like to tell him to do things, and he got him in a research thing that helped him, but he ended up living like way longer, and he after I stopped the piece, he died like within a month or so.
Wow.
So, sometimes you can't stop someone from dying. I mean, it's like their
Mhm.
time to go, and but it gave them more time to be together. So, yeah,
Wow.
so that's my story.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love the layered and what you said about we are the dream we're telling you, we are all color and sound. Like that it's like yeah, so true. Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. Very, very cool to see, Joanne. Very cool. Thank you. All right. So Rachel or Marjorie,
Could
which
I
one of you?
go?
Yes,
Could I
thank
go
you.
next?
Yes,
Just I've
thank you.
got it's now it's late. It's getting late tonight. Could I
Yeah.
can I just share my
Let me
screen?
get you
Yeah.
set up. Okay, now you should be able to share your screen.
Right. So if I just hit share, don't I?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's this one. Share. And I've just put a couple together some stuff here. So that's me. And then this is a portrait I did. I'm just going to skip past
Wow.
these
Oh my
because
gosh, beautiful.
I'm just going to go right to the heart because I don't want to take a lot of people's
So what
time.
are these? What are these? The
These are
bowl.
tea leaves.
Is that a painting?
No, it's a teacup.
It's an actual teacup. Okay. Wow.
And you will see there's a foot. I think you might be able to see it. There's a foot and a robe and a head and wings.
Oh my
See it?
gosh.
And
Yes,
the
I do see
lyre
it. Yeah.
and the tree. Now, I've been gifted this tree, and there's it's like I think it's my inner child, or my, here on the tree. So I look at teacups and tea leaves as one of my sources of inspiration here. So I just thought I'd
Very
put
cool.
those in.
Yeah,
So
I
this
love it.
so I won't go on all about the tea leaves. I was going to show you bits and pieces there, but I don't want to show you lots of stuff and take up a lot of time. So this is Earth, Mother and Child. And
Gorgeous.
I did this quite a few years ago. And so you'll see it's like the tree of life, or the goblet coming through the child's head and coming out of the ground as well. So this is like coming down into the third eye, and then the mother as part of trees. I have in the teacup, a lot of the time I'm looking for the person's tree, my own tree. It symbols how I am as a person and how they are
Wow.
and how they're feeling. It's always a tree that I look for because my mum taught me, and I've never really been taught anywhere else. It's just my mum taught me and passed it on. We used to have a lot of fun reading our tea leaves. After my dad died, he wouldn't allow it. That's funny. So
I
here,
love that. That's so cool. What an amazing source to find inspiration.
so this is ladylike. So it's the tree is a feminine object, person thing,
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
being. And then this is all the guys and all the characters looking out from her. It's like all these sort of the male energies coming from the tree. And this is a big ink and watercolor drawing. It's a bit of fun, this one. It's like the fan thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to flick through. This is Dancing Tree. Again, lots of colors, inks and color and movement
Beautiful.
and swirls. And then this is synchronicity from the earth right up to the sky and
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
the air. But I also do things. This is the soul on earth. This came to me about a year and a half ago. So it's about grounding and the structures on the earth, and then all the matter and color that's all around us. And these are almost like antennae working here from the top. And these are like the chakras, and then uprising energies coming up through the soul.
Very cool.
This is
Oh,
kissing
wow.
trees. It's a bit fun. And then it's like a stage here. And then the sun and, you know, different, looking through different windows here and distance and, you know, light. So that's very
Oh my
structured,
gosh.
very geometric. Now this is a mother seed. So you'll see here, this is like the tribe guys here, the male energy. I've got lightning bolts coming down here, and we're all under the earth here, working away the energies of the earth. And they're almost like chieftains, as we would say, you know, these, you know, with horns and headdresses and things. And then this is the mother. So this is like the symbol of life. We have paisley shawls, are kind of like Indian shawls and tapestries. And then inside here, there's all little fetus, little babies here
Oh,
from the mother.
wow.
And then
Yes.
here's like a cosmos here of light, you know, there.
Mhm.
And they're all underground, birthing, you know, the new that's to rise up, coming through. That's mother seed.
Awesome. Awesome.
These are just dynamics of being very geometric. Sometimes I do very geometric and controlled areas, light coming through. But this is the elixir of source. So this is like source energy here coming out and into spirals of a dance, into almost like a goblet here.
Mm.
And then here I've got the horizon and water spouting and all this sort of matter coming and energy coming out of the sea and the ocean and the sky. So that's, and it's a dance, and it's all moving, you know, it's not too geometric. So sometimes I really free up and sometimes I'm more structured. And then this is a world made new. So there's sort of the ocean, all the water spouting up here with all the energies above and flowers and the tapestry, great tapestry on the land of color.
Oh, yeah.
So, and some rocks in the sea. That's kind of a wee bit structured, but that's the kind of work I do.
That's gorgeous. Just gorgeous. And it's so fun to see them, to see Joanne's, and then to see this one is has some like the layered effect that we saw a lot in Joanne's work as well. But then you have you really go back and forth. It was fun to see the more structure, the realism that you have with the portraits, and then going into these ones that are either very geometric or abstract. And the tree theme, very, very cool. And I love that you get your inspiration from tea leaves too. Yeah.
Yeah,
So cool.
I'll just stop sharing there now. So
Thank you so much, Marjorie. That was gorgeous. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank
Rachel,
you.
Okay.
and do you need to share? Here you go.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. There you go.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So my latest work over the last few years has really been about painting energy or energy in motion. Probably that's
Yes.
why the music and the flow. This is a longhorn. So some of them, sometimes it's real, has an essence of realism or you know of recognizable objects, and then other
Yeah.
times it does not.
Oh, so is this picture, is this one piece? So three things inside of one piece?
No, well, this is one painting, and then this is three different paintings.
Got it. Okay.
And
Okay.
sometimes they're more geometric, sometimes they're more angular. Like this is energy on the left, the orange and red one, and it's
Yes.
how it's coming together and bouncing off and crystallizing and reforming and new connections. And then other times it's much more, this one I took from something political going on. I was just, you know, I needed painted out. The one on the lower left is one that I'm doing right now. And this one is
Yes.
going to be called crystallization. And so I'm going to go back in to put in some other color. So it's an unfinished one. And then the one up on the top right is another one. This is about the energy and how it's moving from structured to unstructured, right? So there's like friction and tension on the right as it's moving and freeing itself towards the left. So you read it right to left.
Oh, super cool.
And then this is the one that was behind me. This is one that sat in my garage for 5 years, not knowing what it needed to be finished. Um, so I just wanted to show it since it's behind me. But I do lots of sketching. Sometimes I'm connecting with, energy or even sometimes, indirectly.
Yeah.
Bringing that to canvas or sketching. But then it's funny, Marjorie, you're talking about being in silence. I actually love to sometimes just be in silence as well. And this is typically when I pick up the camera. I really
Mm,
need to stay connected to nature. So I do a lot of nature photography. Uh,
wow.
but I also do things like I'm always looking for the moment. I love to spend time in nature and be inspired and have that time for self-reflection and also for that self-growth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also just I love playing with color.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest jobs ever would be to be able to create or pick the Pantone color of the year. I guess you have to know it a year and a half ahead of time, but it'd be kind of fun. But then also with doing like portraits, like this is
Wow.
a portrait that I did, and it's funny, like I was doing the photo shoot and just it wasn't coming together. And then I'm like, I just had got inspired. I'm like, we needed a fan, we needed movement, we needed to build a momentum to be able to capture the right moment, thus the
Wow.
butterfly.
Yeah.
Um, but I do have a couple, these are my tips if anybody's interested.
Yes, thank you.
Some talking about the art making process is like being grounded, running your energy, being open to receiving, right? You got to set that intention. I'm a big fan of like having music or not having music, right? Setting the mood that's going to allow you to be able to allow it to flow. Play and experiment. I've always got toys on my desk. uh, Finding joy, doing what you love and trusting the process. And I think that's a big one is being able to trust it, right? You don't know what
Yeah.
it will turn out at the end, right? Whether it be you're writing a novel or you're painting a painting. And then being fluid and embracing that ambiguity. And one of the biggest things I always tell my teams is it's always yes and not no but. Because once you shut it down, right? It's like you can be your own wet blanket.
Yes.
And it's just so this always look at it with like what if and yes and. And then for anybody looking for inspiration, there's some books I highly recommend. It's where
Oh
the
gosh, yeah.
professor in me comes out. A really well-known one is Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. But I
Yes.
really love, they have this at SF MoMA, which is the Marianne Duchars, I think is how you pronounce her last name, but she's written, or she or he, I'm not sure, has written 3 different books. And I love them because it's got like these little tactical exercises you can do with like painting using color, you're drawing with lines. It just helps to open it up.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
something
That's
that
so cool.
anybody can do of any age.
I love it. I actually took drawing on the right side of the brain when I was 12 at like summer camp.
Yeah,
And it was transformative. Like it really changed how I saw the world. And yeah, opened up my perception. So yeah, I'll definitely check out Marion Duchess or Duchar. How do you pronounce
yeah,
it?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, super cool.
And then yeah, activity books, also Pinterest, tea leaves. I'm gonna try that,
Yeah,
Marjorie.
I know, right? We're
That's
all
so
gonna go get
cool.
some tea now.
But I think it's doing something new. It's embracing nature, but also really listening to your senses. Because sometimes we get caught in a trap of relying on 1 or 2 senses and we're not listening to them all. And so sometimes just really be setting an intention to like feel and hear and touch and smell, it forces you to really look at it in a different way. And
Yes,
then kind of lastly is, you need inspiration. Sometimes just ask. Ask the universe. It'll come to you.
I love it. I love it. Wow.
Can I just mention one more thing? I forgot to
Yes.
mention about a free talk that I'm doing in Edmonds, Washington.
Yeah.
So it's the 24th. It's at Artwork Artworks, Edmonds, Washington, and it's from 10 to 12. Open for everybody to, for art. It's a great place to go.
Beautiful. Thank you. And with that in mind, if you could each share, if you each if you have a website or where people could find your art, if you could just give us a quick notice if people wanted to look you up, how would they do it?
Probably for me, Joanne's Visionary Art, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, that's probably the best.
Perfect. Thank you, Joanne. How about for Rachel? How would people find you?
I put my link in the chat.
Oh, okay, but but because the recording won't have the chat.
That's right. It's norcalart.com. NorCal
Norcal.
Yeah, for Northern California.
NorCal Art. Awesome. Okay,
Or,
thank you.
or Rachel at NorCal Art.
Got it. Awesome. How about you, Marjorie?
It's just under my name. So I've got a website, Marjorie with a Y, Boyle, Crooks. Boyle was my maiden name, and so I kept it because people knew me as Marjorie Boyle. So then when I got married, I just bolted Crooks on. But I just wanted to say that I was so surprised by, I think it was the angels, of course. I was gifted recently. Somebody was throwing out, I think, about 30 canvases, 3 crates of paints, paintbrushes, 2 large easels, and then little ones, little easels, you know, like those little portable ones, about 8 of them. And by fluke, one of my old friends phoned me to say, "Are you still doing your painting?" And
Oh my
this
gosh.
guy was going to put it in the skip. So I was gifted all of this stuff, and I thought, you know, I better do more. Better crank up, get more done, you know, because I've been doing textiles recently. So it's like I better go back to my painting. And then the dream last night. So I couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it, Anne. And
That
I
is like
actually,
it's such a sign for the talk about the serendipity, like Joanne was mentioning earlier, right? There you go.
absolutely. And then I want to do some healing, and I think I'm going to do cups of tea, and then with people with supported needs, a day a week or something in Edinburgh, and that'll help free and communicate with each other, and then I think I'll go back to do a little bit of sort of facilitation. That's what I'm thinking of doing. Healing work, because I'm a Reiki master, but just healing, cups of tea, and some painting or something, and just with others, you know, because I think it's a great therapy. I did a little bit of masters, a year of a master's degree in art therapy, and it was amazing, amazing, Anne, absolutely, and everyone, just amazing how therapeutic it is and how you can see and learn and heal from it, from what you've made, what you've done.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think that's a genius idea. And I'm all for anything that brings people together right now in person, forming those in-person connections, I think is fantastic. So you guys, thank you, all 3 of you. I know having had like stepping out onto sharing my gifts out in the world, I know how hard that is. And so I just want to honor all 3 of you for being willing to come on here and have this conversation out in public and to share your work with us. It's inspiring. You guys shared some incredible wisdom and some beautiful, beautiful work. And boy, the comments, everybody's in love with your art. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And for everybody who came to join us today, thank you so much for being here. You guys know we meet for Wisdom Soup every month. It's always on the 2nd Thursday of the month, and sharing topics that are fully embracing the woo from all perspectives. So we never know what's coming next, but it'll be something interesting.
Yeah. And thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, absolutely.
think it's great.
Fantastic. Thank you guys have been awesome. It was a great conversation. And thank you, Wendy and Kira. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Much love to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful.